You're listening to the Westminster Canterbury Tales podcast, creating community to foster joy and well-being. Thanks for listening.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the WC Leadership Podcast. And today, my guest is going to be Tivvis, who is VP Campus. I don't know your whole title. I'm worse than the lady at Coastal Live.
Listen, sometimes I have to look at the badge. So, Executive Director and Vice President of Campus Operations.
Well, welcome. Today we are going to be talking to our leadership, and we're going to have a series of leadership podcasts coming from Westminster Canterbury, but Tim is our first. So, Tim, tell me a little bit about yourself and, what you like to do and on the outside of things.
Okay, so I'm originally from Maryland. I actually came to the Virginia Beach area about 3 years ago. But before all of that, I went to Culinary Institute of America in Hyde Park, New York. So I'm a trained chef. I've worked in Italy, South Africa, up and down the East Coast. Found my first job in senior living in Maryland. Oh, okay. Probably over 15 years ago. And I was the Assistant Dining Services Manager of Operations. So it's kind of a full circle moment title-wise, but it was the first love of senior living, and I've worked at probably around 4 or 5 different retirement communities in the Virginia, Maryland, D.C. area, and I love it here at Westminster Canterbury, and I live out in Chesapeake with Julie, so it's about a 40-minute drive, and our 2 cats, Lily and Maxwell. Yeah.
They're your babies.
They're our fur babies, for sure. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Good. Well, nice to have you here today. So we're going to get started on talking about leadership. So what does leadership mean to you?
So one of my favorite quotes is, we're a sum of our experiences. So leadership, if you asked 50 people, I think leadership would be a little different, have a different flavor based on everyone's past experience. But for mine, leadership is someone to look up to, someone to admire on a values standpoint, just a good hearted individual with sound mind, making the right decisions for the right reasons. Leadership is sometimes not even a title. It's in the moment, doing the right thing, regardless of what you're doing and who's doing it. It's rising to the occasion in pushing things forward in life, because everything involves invested energy. Mm-hmm. And I find leadership encompasses something that you're passionate about, investing that energy and seeing it grow and move forward.
So what is the next level of leadership will be for you, do you think, in the next 5 to 6 years or 5 to 10 years? Where do you see yourself in the leadership position?
Interesting question. I'm trying to think of what I'm going to have for dinner tonight. And so now I'm trying to project myself to 5-7 years, what I'm going to do. I always tell Jules that one day I'll just be like, you know what, I'm just going to go work at Fisher's Popcorn on the boardwalk in Ocean City, Maryland, and I'm just going to make caramel popcorn. And she looked at me and was like, you and I both know then in a week you'd be the supervisor, in a month you'd be the manager, and at some point in the summer you'll probably own that Fisher Popcorn. So, but I would say the next level is, I've only been in my current role for about 1.5 years. So for me, it's about continuing to learn and grow in my current role. So looking at what the next step would look like is, when you start building a team, and I have a great team. When you start building a team and you start developing relationships, it's really, you want to do more of that. Mm-hmm. So I would think the next step naturally would be, being able to have another team to help facilitate and grow and learn. So, whether that's another building, we're going to be building a new building soon. Mm-hmm. So I think that might happen naturally in regards to just kind of expanding the scope and being able to do great work at a larger level.
So what are you doing to continue to make the difference in staff and residents? Because I know it's a challenge to work with all types of people and different attitudes and everything, but what do you do as a leader to try to keep the staff and the residents all on one accord, basically?
So one thing that we started probably in the last year and a half is trying to communicate at the same time, right? So it's both a home for the residents and really it's our work home for the team members. So understanding that any change in this environment, anything that we're working on, it's really about being transparent and open and having it to where there's timely, effective communication to both areas. So we, in the last year, initiated sharing the town halls that we do once a month with the IL residents, with the team members at the same time, so that it's not that the residents are walking around or talking at dinner about topics that the team members don't have an opportunity to know.
Oh, okay.
And, I look at it as visibility, walking around, being able to see the team members in the environment where they impact directly. I think the last year, me shadowing each team member in different departments really gave me an eye-opening experience of just, what that great work looks like. We talk about it. We talk about our mission. We talk about our values. But until you're on your hands and knees helping clean the floor, absolutely, you don't get to value the work as much. But now that I've done that, I can say thank you so much because I know what goes into it. And even if it's a small glimpse into their world, we're all part of the same team achieving the same goal, and being visible and knowing that I'm a part of their success equation and that there's the ability to have open communication, I think is important for both parties. Me knowing that I'm there as a resource, and two, knowing that it's not just lip service, that I may say it, but I'm also physically there. So if you need anything, I'm here for you.
I like that. So what have you brought from your past that you felt as though was great at your other locations that we are using right now, that we don't even know that you brought it, but you have executed it here?
That's a good question. And the reason why is because Julie calls me an idea fairy. So I'll just come up with ideas, and if you don't like them, I'm not married to them. I'll bring 2 or 3 more to the table. So I find things that have been successful in the past, duplication isn't necessarily the go-to. It's really kind of like, hey, this worked in the past. What does it look like to be effective here? And so I think through conversations and through just idea sharing, it's really being able to see those ideas flourish in a new way. So I don't know if there's been like a cookie cutter approach, but there have been different things that have occurred in other communities that I've worked at that you see elements here. So, one is consistent communication. So the FYI packet came from previous knowledge of wanting a central avenue of all important things that are happening around the community, and then being able to post it in every department. So the operational leadership, every department has their own kind of like board that they put FYI packet on. So it's really kind of, instead of being flooded with emails, it's really about packaging things in a way that's making it relevant, but then also making it kind of desirable. Like, do you know about the FYI packet? Do you know that that's the information that you need to know in order to stay informed? Where before it was just kind of spitball and emails. You sometimes couldn't follow it. Sometimes it got lost in translation. Where here you have a one-stop shop, and Jada McKinney does a wonderful job of putting that packet together. But that all came from streamlined, effective communication that I've seen in the past, and then also highlighting promotion. So HR does a wonderful job of the board outside of the team member break room, where it just talks a little bit about internal growth. So if we want individuals to be inspired and drive the narrative that they have a future here, and to retain great talent, we have to show them that it happens. And so being able to put a face to a name, to a title of someone who may be a peer, someone that they came in through orientation, and seeing that person thrive and take on additional responsibility, it gives hope, it gives potential for others. So I think sometimes transparency is really the key in regards to having informed team members and residents in the fact that, are we optimizing the avenues of communication to really drive all of the great work that we do? Because we do great work, and then we make a flyer and we post it on one wall, and then we're like, oh, yay, I communicated, or you sent one email, but really it's about making sure it's in front of the individual in a location that they're going to either run into or in a way that they can predict. Hey, I need to open up this email every Tuesday or every Monday when the FYI packet comes out. So
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. And yes, I've seen the packet, the FYI packet, and I think it's done very well. It has a lot of information in it. It really does. Next question that I have for you: will there be opportunities for other staff here to be promoted to that tower?
Absolutely. A lot can happen in 5 years. And so if anyone's listening to this podcast, I would look at it as, if you have the drive and the grit and you want to learn and grow, this is the opportunity to set some goals in regards to what does that look like to grow into a higher level of leadership. Because in 5 years, a lot can happen in regards to self-development and then also exposure to what's currently happening.
What do you see happening right now for the coming year?
For this coming year. So I know a couple things that we've worked on in the last year is our We Care surveys that go to team members and residents, and really optimizing that in regards to information that comes in, because getting feedback and then utilizing it is really important, both on integrity of just sharing, but the opportunity to show impact to both the team members and residents. I would say in the next year, it's really, the word alignment comes to mind for me. So alignment's really important due to the fact that it helps out with efficiency. So what you do, how you do it, should be aligned with both our mission and vision and our goals, our values. And we should really be able to look at what we're doing, how we're doing it, and making sure that we're doing it in forums that are productive, that the time we're using for certain things are of quality, and that we're not just kind of, having meetings to have meetings, or tracking data just to track data. It's really about making sure that the meeting is driving value and meaningful action, and that the data that we're getting has integrity to it, and that it helps create that narrative of what should be something that we invest energy into moving forward. So it's really about taking the great programs and software and all the technology that we have and packaging it in a way that our operators and our team members can get the data and be able to then put meaningful action into making this a great community.
So I know that COVID is not a thing of the past. It's still here, but we're not hearing a lot about it. What do you think about the COVID and how it has impacted Westminster Canterbury?
Ooh. So COVID has impacted the world. Dun, dun, dun.
Yes.
So in regards to Westminster Canterbury, the beautiful thing that happened, and I know Dr. Tori Crenshaw and the interdisciplinary team did a fantastic job when COVID first came out, and kind of setting that structure of us creating kind of that bubble around the campus. So both team members and residents, there was, a very easy process to say, keep you safe, keep yourself out of harm's way, and then this is how we protect the residents. And I think we fared really well during COVID, when you heard some horror stories.
Oh, yeah.
But I think what COVID has done in general in the average human psyche is just thinking about sanitation. So sanitation has taken a whole new level of definition, and even at Westminster Canterbury, the wiping down of everything. Antibacterial gel is still everywhere. Masks have become normalized. So before, masks were kind of like laughed at. Where now it's kind of like, hey, if you're not feeling great, you have a scratchy throat, you cough once in a while, wear a mask. It's easy to protect you and those that are around you. So masks, I think, have been normalized. Sanitation, masks, and I just think prioritization in someone's life has changed a little bit. You can see that with transition of team members who are prioritizing family, and that's okay. And I think that's because for 2 years, some of us didn't get to see our family, and sometimes that family member's health declined and we weren't around, so we're trying to make up for lost time. So you can see that that's weighing on people. So things in life are weighing because, when something COVID that's so huge happens to you, this tiny human in this giant world, it puts things in perspective.
It does.
So it makes you think, what are you going to do in 5-7 years, and how far away you are to family, and what does it look like to support each other as humans. And WC, you see that just within our great defined community, is that we didn't have to mandate vaccines in the beginning.
Right.
Team members and residents lined up for them. Residents in general kept a high percentage of vaccination throughout the peak COVID time. And even now, there's a high percentage. And so I just think, when something happens like that, you start to see the strength of community and the value of being a part of a large organization.
Yes. I heard so many residents were so grateful and thankful that they were here during the time that COVID and the instructions and all of that y'all put in place, because they really felt like this was the safest place for them to be during that time. So, yes, I congratulate the leadership on keeping people safe, not only the residents, but also staff. And we did everything possible that we could do to keep everybody safe and to keep everybody informed about things that were transpiring with the COVID. Every day there was something going on, or the mandates that were coming out. And I think the leadership team did an excellent job on that. So, Tim, as we go in a little deeper into your style of leadership, what is your coaching mindset?
When most people think of a coach, I'm sure most people think the person on the sidelines in a football game, or sidelines basketball game, whatever sport you play. They're kind of methodical. They usually have a piece of paper in their hand, and they're pointing and telling everyone what to do. But when it comes to business, the approach to a coaching mindset is really about being able to do more and work through others by being intentional, investing time, and ensuring that knowledge and skills are passed on through active learning.
So do you think you have incorporated that in your style of leadership?
Absolutely. And it doesn't happen overnight. You have to be intentional with every conversation. You have to be active in what you're hearing and have a large amount of curiosity. You have to ask questions in order for you as the leader to know what exactly you're helping subject with, but you're also trying to understand through the person you're having the conversation with, do they truly understand what is the need, what are they trying to accomplish, and why are they having the conversation with you? Because if not, then it's more of kind of, passing the hot potato. So it's really focusing on not necessarily telling someone what to do, but asking the questions to help them find the answer that they already know, they just don't know it yet.
So for an example, I know that David Boway is one of your candidates that you have used to grow and put him in the forefront. So what questions or what style that coaching approach did you use on him to get him where he is today?
Well, I can't take credit on who David is as a person, right? So everyone has control on their drive, their passion, the amount of time and energy they want to invest in their own knowledge and the ability to grow and learn. So if you have that drive and passion, that's something that you have to turn on. No leader with any questions can turn it on for you.
That's right.
So anyone listening, you gotta have that drive, you gotta have that passion, and that's a great foundation for any type of growth potential and just learning, right? Is opening your mind that there are different ways of seeing things, and you can't learn unless you're open. So, outside of who David is, I would say that, just interaction wise, situations are going to come up. We work in a dynamic environment. People, residents, things, deadlines, priorities, all of that needs to be balanced. And I think it's taking a pause, really being intentional with stopping and realizing that conversations that you're having are easy to say, but have huge repercussions if we don't do the right things for the right reasons. So really it's about being able to listen and see what's going on, and being able to ask a question to David or anyone that helps them understand what are they reacting to. Because I think it's human nature to react very quickly to things without fully digesting all the information and the details that are a part of the situation. And I think we don't give ourselves enough time to really process that. And so then we're making quick calls. Now, don't get me wrong. There will always be times where quick calls need to occur. Emergencies do happen. But sometimes we make things into emergencies.
That don't have to necessarily be.
Correct.
Right?
If we just take that minute, if we take that moment and really think about what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish, a lot of things get simplified in the moment.
I like that. And I like that David has progressed up. I watched him start as a male secretary for dining, and now he's moved up to be the director of dining. So he went back to school and everything. And I think with you coaching him along the way, gave him the passion and the eager to want to complete it, because I know he's already had started it, but he just needed that little push. And I think you gave him that little push to want to complete his studies and to move up into dining services, which it all paid off for him at the end. Okay. So do you have some coaching tips that we can share?
Yeah. Curiosity. Ask questions until the situation that you're in makes sense, right? I think sometimes I caution that in the fact that sometimes things can be imbalanced and there can be too much curiosity, but I don't know with curiosity if there's like a limit. Yeah, I think it's just when the questions get to a point where it complicates the scenario and you can't find an answer or a path out of what you're trying to accomplish. I think that's when questions become, almost more of a barrier. But I think everyone knows, because it's really about asking enough questions until you see the light at the end of the tunnel, not about having it towards perfection, right? So I think those high expectations are great, but you got to understand what's reality versus what's step 1 versus step 10.
Okay.
What is your vision, but what are the small steps to get to that vision? Most people want to think that you turn the page and you're already at your vision. Right. And that's that kind of like all things have to be perfect and everything has to have its spot, but everything starts with a step 1, a step 2, a step 3. Every leader isn't in their role because overnight they went to bed one night and they woke up the next morning and they have all they need skill-wise to be successful. It's, progress is, a little bit slower than some would like. We live in a microwave society where everything's instant. Right. But things take time.
That's true.
So curiosity, active listening. I think sometimes we're so eager to get things accomplished, checked off our list, that I think we are almost thinking about what we're going to say and do while someone's talking to us instead of actually really listening. Because I think that's where the learning occurs. That's where the knowledge transfer occurs, and that's also where the questions come. If you're really listening to someone, it's very easy to say, let me make sure I hear what you just said, and repeating back to them, and then they're like, no, or absolutely. So it's kind of, I think we miss those small details that complicate things. We rush, get a check mark, and then like 6 months later, we're redoing what we just did because we didn't take the time to active listen, be curious, ask the right questions, and be able to challenge things until things make sense.
Okay. So we have curiosity. We need to listen more. So is there another step 3?
I would say step 3 would be providing feedback. So, I think when you're curious and you're active listening, that's kind of an indirect way of someone learning. But I think when a situation is complete, when you're about to move on to the next task or you're about to move on to the next conversation, it's really about providing feedback in that moment so that someone you're talking to understands what potential barriers are being sensed, things that need to be worked on, actionable items from the conversation and or project that need to be solidified. So we still need to be mindful of the amount of time it takes to complete a project or things that we're talking about. Because if we talk about it, it's important. And if it's important, then it's important also to do it in a timely manner. But providing that feedback, not only indirectly by asking questions, but also providing it at the end, I think really helps facilitate learning so that someone knows how to approach a situation the next time, what they did or didn't do quite right this go around. And then also that's where the true learning begins. Because if you're curious and you're active listening, you're creating trust. You're investing that time and you're investing that energy into that person to get a great outcome, because it's really not about today. It's about what's going to happen in 6 months. The real goal is that I'm out of a job. Right. That knowledge, those skills are transferred in a way that in 6 months, in a year, I'm like, oh, we don't need Tim anymore. That's the goal. That's the goal.
I like that goal, but it's not good for you. But that's just reality and just how the job market and stuff goes. But
I will tell you that I will always find something to do. So don't you worry. So, if there are things that are taken care of by other people, I will find something to do. So yeah, don't you worry. I will create another job, or, I'll find something that may need some energy. I'm just an investor. Well,
it just looks like your mind does not rest at night. That's what it tells me.
It does not.
It just keeps going and going and going. So what else can you tell me about this coaching? How long have you been using this style of coaching?
So I'm actually a certified career and life coach from the International Coaching Federation. So it took me about 2 years to kind of do all of the classes and prerequisites to sit for the oral and written exam that I was able to pass last year.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So, if I were to tell Tim 5 years ago, that would be a different Tim. So that would be someone who probably accomplished tasks on his own because it's easy, right? I think we all fall into that where it's kind of, it's easy if I just do it, right?
Right.
If you're doing something that requires any type of skill and you're doing it alone, you're doing it wrong. Because if you're not bringing somebody with you, if you're not showing that knowledge, all you're doing is in the moment satisfying the need, checking that box off. But really the idea about a coaching mindset is that you're always passing on knowledge and you're preparing for the long-term success of both the individuals around you and the company. Because really it's about creating bench strength, because we all know flexibility, things happen, life happens, but if one person does one thing all the time because it's easy or convenient or because they know and no one else knows, or they're not actively trying to ask questions and transfer that knowledge, it's not really setting anyone up for success. It's not creating that flexibility.
Well, I like that, and learned something new about you today. I didn't know that you had all those credentials underneath your name, and I like that. I have heard about this coaching federation certificate or classes that you took. It's a very powerful thing. I know a lot of ministers take that course too, from what I understand, because they are in that position also to lead and coach people. So when they move away from off their platform, somebody else has to come behind them. And I think that's what you're doing. So you have set a standard to where whenever you leave this platform, somebody else can come on behind you that you have trained or have shared knowledge with, so they can go about their day in their own way and their own coaching style of way, but you have mentored them to do. And I like that. So in one lump sum, kind of summarize you.
Summarize me in a sentence.
Well, you have so many, you have so many things or so much knowledge, and you come from all this different background, from dining to being a VP. Now I'm just learning about this coaching and you being certified. So sum it all up.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, I'm putting you out there.
Well, I'm trying to condense. Do you know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of like the 3 or 4 words people use like in like new advertising, where it's like, 4 action words or something that describes yourself. That's what your comment reminded me of, is like what like 4 words would it would describe me. I would say I'm an investor, not money, more of time and energy. So I'm an investor. I'm going to say I love food, people, and leadership. So I think there's you can't do a great job if you don't really love what you do or you care for what you do. There has to be that innate foundation. Absolutely. Creativity. So creative. I'm a problem solver. I'll give you 5 or 6 different solutions to a problem, and if you don't like those, I'll really think hard and I'll come up with more. I love thinking outside the box and finding new ways to solve problems. And then I just like the idea of thinking new. Like what is a fresh approach? What is taking a new photo?
You have a heavy job, I can say, and I think you keep everybody afloat around here, and you're just one person. Yes, you do have Mackenzie, and she's great at what she does, but what do you do for relaxation? Like when you want to get away or when you get home, you just leave WC here, you sit back with your fur babies. What do you do?
So I don't know if I technically get away from Westminster Canterbury when I'm at home. So, email technology is a thing where you're always connected. Phone, there's always something that needs to get done. I think to truly get away, that's when I go to another country. So you're like, wow, Tim travels really well. It's because, your phone doesn't necessarily work in another country, and it really helps break away from that technology piece. But on a relaxation standpoint, I would say, I don't know. I'm a mover and a shaker even at home. So I'm not a rock that grows moss, even on the weekends. Sometimes, Julie's more of kind of like, let's relax, let's read a book, let's go to the beach, and I'm kind of like, she balances me on that, because I'm like, no, I have to power wash the house. I need to plant a tree. I need to mow the lawn. I need to, do laundry. Dishes need to be done. So I'm always looking at the list of things and kind of checking them off. And so sometimes, at 8 p.m. at night when I get home, I'm like, what are we going to do? We've got, an hour or 2. And Jules is like, I'm watching TV. You can do you. But I think I'm naturally, I just invest energy in things. And so I find that I have to find a way to turn it off. But I also, I appreciate that about myself. So I think landscaping is one of those things where I kind of is work related to me, not work as in Westminster Canterbury, but it takes a lot of labor. But I'm able to see the change. I'm able to see where I'm going to make an impact, change up the landscape, plant some trees, watch it grow, nurture it to where at the end I can have a drink at the end of the day, watching the sunset out in Chesapeake over like some farmland, and just kind of look and be like, what, I helped create that. That's going to now be a good home for birds or the wildlife. Because sometimes I think in life you can invest in energy, and you don't know how it impacts others unless they tell you. Right. So I'm running around, doing what I can do to support the team, unless somebody tells me what I'm doing is helpful for them, or that it meant something, or that it impacted them. I mean, I'm walking around hoping that everything gets connected, and that, what I'm showing in what I'm doing and how I'm doing it helps someone else kind of evolve their own style to be better, stronger, faster. So landscaping for me is kind of like the opportunity for me to see the end result, to see something grow and continue to nurture. Okay.
So that tells me you really don't know how to relax unless you're out of the country.
So, one thing everyone thinks about it, or thinks that I do, is I wear a suit all day. 24/7. I think one team member asked if I sleep in a suit, in a 3-piece suit. I do not. So I think I get into like casual clothes that I know that I can work in, and grabbing a bourbon and walk around. Absolutely. So coffee in the morning, bourbon in the evening. And chocolate chip cookies tend to be
that wind you down.
Yes. So chocolate chip cookies, even though they're a lot of sugar, for some reason, when I'm eating chocolate chip cookies, I'm like caring for myself. I'm like providing something for myself that's enjoyable. So I'm a cookie monster. So yeah.
So no wonder you come in with so much energy in the morning.
So I don't allow myself to eat chocolate chip cookies in the morning. So it's a bad habit.
No, because you had them the night before. And you rested on all that sugar. So you come in like a locomotive.
Yeah.
For you all, Tim is about 6 feet. You 6 feet 1 or 2?
6'2".
6'2". And I tell you, every time he walks by me, a wind just follows him. So, I mean, he's always on the go. He has a lot of energy. He brings a lot of energy. And he wants that energy to bounce off of any and everybody that is around him. So I do appreciate that, because sometimes I be down, but when Tim walks by, I was like, yes, there go Tim. I can't catch up with him anyway. Don't make a difference. But when he walks by, he brings good energy to everybody that's around him and in the building. So I really do appreciate you being in the leadership position. I think a lot of people do. I think we've seen different changes that have come about. And with you at the forefront of it, I think there's a lot of happiness that's going around here now. People are smiling more. People are eager to do, but with a smile on their face. And I think that is all because of you and the type of leadership that you have brought to Westminster and to the staff, and I think also to residents. I think they really appreciate that, and they look forward to coming up and speaking with you, whether there is a problem or not, but they don't show it. They always come with a smile, and they always leave with a smile, whether they don't like the answer that they got or not, but they are still with a smile. Nobody leaves angry. So I think that's all because of you and how you project yourself and how you handle different scenarios or problems throughout the building. And I just want to say we appreciate you. And
Thank
we
you.
Love what you're doing, and hope 5 to 10 years you will still be doing it. Hopefully you'll slow down a little bit, but until that time, we'll take all the wind that you're bringing.
Sure.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Jackie.
And I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Westminster Canterbury Tales podcast. Thank you for listening.